Hey everyone, welcome back to Shitcoin Daily. Today we're going to be talking about the latest news, Jack Dorsey stepping down and why that is relevant to crypto. We're also going to be talking about crypto.com and how they obtain a holdings company's position in Citadel, which is really big news because that's not no chump change. And we'll get into that and also the shitcoin that we're talking about today, which really isn't, is crypto.com and why they might actually be like a company that you want to invest in and actually own their crypto. So we'll start off with the news with Ape.
So the first major news we have today is that Jack Dorsey stepped down from Twitter, but it's not because he's gonna retire, but mostly focus on Square. So pretty much he wants to push Square into more of the crypto field, and that he wants to make a ecosystem where it actually supports DeFi coins. You would think, normally a one-to-one, trade, but he actually likes the DeFi system as well. He even said himself that if it wasn't for Twitter or Square, he'd definitely be into Bitcoin, as he mentioned in a crowd earlier this year. Uh, on top of that, he likes the decentralization, not just with money, but also the work environment. Like during COVID, he allowed his employees to work from home and remote locations. So, he talks a talk and walks a walk.
That's not a fan of Jack Dorsey, but that's definitely one of the things I do like. We need billionaires who are going to be willing to innovate in the space. And while people like that he left Twitter, hopefully he can do some good on the crypto space that would be good for the smaller people.
Yeah, I'm hoping Square really takes off and are able to accomplish the vision he has, especially with DeFi coins, because that's going to create not only a use case for certain coins, but possibilities for everyone to be
And
able to
especially
use it everywhere.
in the DeFi space because it's all decentralized and decentralized finance is what DeFi stands for. So that means he's pushing for the fact of the information not being shared. How like we believe that governments want to get all the information and all wallets to have a name behind it. So that's good. All
Yeah.
right, so you want to jump to the next one?
So the next major news is, as we mentioned before, Crypto.com buys IG stake in Citadel. So they pretty much bought two different trading platforms. Uh, they bought 40%, I believe, on the Citadel's group,
Th-
which is great because that means more exposure for them, more tools for them. It's just gonna help them in the long run.
Yeah,
And you
so
have
it's
to understand that
40% of what a small stake in exchange, which was 40% was $216 million in cash. That's nothing small or anything that we've
yeah.
really had to see lately in the crypto world.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like that's no chump change. Like crypto.com is they're they're the moving force. Like they're the big boys in this space, especially when it comes to setting up exchanges. They have credit cards. Like Citadel is not like a small company. They're a multinational hedge fund with $40 billion in assets. Like the crypto.com is playing like the big boy league. So this kind of news is good. Like this is the kind of stuff that's gonna make crypto mainstream not only amongst like Americans because crypto's huge in America, but worldwide everywhere.
Yeah, so typically when you think of crypto.com, you think of like a boomer accidentally, like, oh, let me press crypto.com, the same thing as I put television.com, something that people don't really know and want to get their foot in the door. So when I thought of crypto.com, I wasn't really trustworthy of them in the sense of like, they're just going to be another website that's going to overcharge to do a certain thing. But honestly, this past years, they've been buying contract to put their name on, like, let's say, what was it on a stadiums? They're expanding, so it's working out for them. I would always thought, Binance and Coinbase to be like the major
Yeah.
one because it was always seemed that if you're in the industry, those are your go-to routes. But for crypto.com, at least for me, to come out of the woodworks and expand a lot more than the other two companies, it surprised me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're doing a lot more work on that. Like because Coinbase and Binance are, one of the on the top 3 exchanges, but crypto.com and if you ask me who's set up to be the winner, I think it's crypto.com and I think their only competition is Coinbase because Coinbase has their fingers in a lot of places, but I think crypto.com is setting themselves up for a big win.
I would agree. Crypto.com not only buying different exchanges, they're buying real world assets. The stadium that they bought, I'm sure they have plans for much more, but I think definitely the CRO token will see a huge pump.
Yeah. And this is obviously medium to long term. This isn't like, those short term like shitcoin gains. This is a longer term aspect because its market cap is big. So this is something that you have to keep an eye on. But it is a safer bet that could make you a 2, a 3, a 4 maybe. It just really depends on where the crypto market goes, but it could make those kind of gains. So since we're kind of on that, let's just jump into the coin at this point, which Ninja's going to go ahead and talk about.
So rather than starting with a website like we normally do, I'm just going to jump straight into the coin market cap charts. Because one, let's look at first the market cap. $23 billion. Fully diluted market cap, so 19 billion just at not diluted. You would have to see it hit 40 million to just double your money, which, or 40 billion, but I see that they can probably reach that.
Yeah,
They started the news of them buying the stadiums came out 2 to 3 days ago, and you can really see that here in the graph also. So all their noteworthy items are really driving their chart prices higher. And I can see more things happening in the future, so I can see this run up happening again.
yeah.
Yeah.
So pretty much, this isn't just like we mentioned before, just you invest in a shit coin and you're gonna get a 10x. It's a slow burn. This is more for the traditional investors who don't like the risk, even though it defeats the purpose of altcoins. But this is more of a, hey, let me get into crypto, let me invest something so I could, I'm used to stocks. I like a 5% growth, 10% growth, you know, invest in the long term. This would be it in my personal case.
What I think is a downside about this, it's Ethereum chain.
Yeah.
Anything Ethereum, at least for me, and I'm almost positive Ape and Ninja feel the same way. It's poison. It's disgusting. It's like you don't touch anything on the Ethereum chain because the fees are just going to be outrageous. And this is the problem with a lot of people on NFTs, that they mint each NFT, and the average cost on minting NFTs, or the average gas fee on the Ethereum chain, is $70 or $80. That's insane. Like, and it only grows higher as whatever you're doing goes up.
Yeah.
So that's just crazy.
I'm hoping down the line, crypto.com will develop their own blockchain. I mean, they're growing so big. I mean, you've got like the Binance exchange. I think if they follow what Binance did in creating their own blockchain, they could easily be the next, like, I guess, BNB for a trading medium in altcoins.
I think it's going
Yeah,
to be rough because they have to compete with Cardano as well. And Cardano's seeming, not this cycle, but the next cycle, it seems like it's going to outperform Binance.
I agree with that, but I think Crypto.com has more of a public noteworthy pressure in the space. You know what I mean? Like they can get the publicity out there, they can get the news, they can do the ads, they have the stadium. I think they will be like what everyone will come to know.
best asset in my personal opinion, it is literally just their name, crypto.com.
Yeah.
Any old person, anyone that ever heard of crypto, most likely is gonna go there. I'm assuming they have a high foot traffic compared to Binance and Coinbase. It's just an easier name to remember because it's like this, car.com. People know car.com. Obviously, you have Honda and all these other brands, but if you don't know anything about car and you just got on the internet, you're like car.com and boom, there you go. So that's the one thing again. It's a stronger asset. It's just easy to advertise.
Yeah, not only that, like if you think Binance, you go to Binance.com. Well, I mean, if you're in the United States, you need to go to BinanceUS.com. And same thing when you're trading. I mean, if you start with an international account and they ping you in the US, your account is revoked.
Yeah.
So you lose all that money you put in there.
And like we mentioned before, it's on Ethereum. So, a lot of people are not going to be buying and trading just because the gas fee is just way too
It's
high.
way too
It's
high,
something,
especially with how the price just keeps going up.
honestly, I would tag this as like a 401k type of thing. You throw in like 40 grand, 10 grand, and then 20, 30 years, come back to it and see how it did.
Yeah, and hope
Yeah.
they
Uh,
go to
For
their
those
own
of
blockchain.
you for those of you who might think that, 15, 20 years is too long, Bitcoin's been around for, what, 10 years, on its way to 15 years.
Yeah.
If you would have bought Bitcoin when it started and just waited, you could have put $1. You would be a mega multimillionaire today. Okay, not saying that the same scenario is going to happen here, but you got to think long term. The 10 years or 15 years are coming anyway. So if you're like, okay, let me put my money into something safe, something that has potential. I mean, it's clear that they have potential. So, I mean, yeah, I would do it.
I
I
mean,
just hate that it's Ethereum.
yeah, so do I. I mean, they've got the market cap, they've got the holders, they've got right now the graph, they've got the media outreach. 1.3 million followers on Twitter. A lot of people.
Well, the thing is not what they're at right now, because what they're at is what they're at. This is what they're
Right.
worth. It's just the future. The only downside is it's harder to go from, let's say, 1 billion to 2 billion than it is from 1 million to 100 million.
Yeah.
As things get higher, it does require a lot more. I'm not saying overnight they're gonna double, they're gonna 10x, because 10x of what? They're
They're at
what's their
20 billion.
yeah, they're at 20
20
billion right
billion.
now.
It's not gonna 10x. Impossible. If Bitcoin hasn't reached well, they didn't they reach a trillion?
Bitcoin's over a
Bitcoin's
trillion.
1 trillion.
Okay, yeah, but I don't see them surpassing Bitcoin. All right, so I'm not saying it's gonna be a 10x either. This is just more of a safer play than your typical, walk to the landmine. Hopefully, it's not a rug pull or a honeypot.
Yeah.
Well, depends where. Yeah, it's definitely not that kind of play, but it definitely depends where the crypto market goes. Because if Bitcoin hits 100K, 250K, or how a lot of people say eventually Bitcoin's going to hit $1 million. Yeah, Bitcoin hit 1
Maybe in a
million.
thousand years. No, everything goes up.
Not
More
we're
people.
not talking about the timing that it happens, but if Bitcoin, let's say 40 years, you're waiting for your retirement, and Bitcoin hits $1 million, like crypto.com, if they're able to lead that wave, like, they're gonna have a pretty high market cap. So
Yeah.
how Ape said, is a good retirement thing.
So for me, Bitcoin, I see it more of a ceiling for all of crypto. Bitcoin is a ceiling, nothing surpasses it because everyone knows Bitcoin. And then Bitcoin dictates on the room growth of everything else. So when Bitcoin naturally goes up, then it just increases more space of everything else increasing. Of course, anything could happen. People, maybe they could find a wallet that has 1 billion Bitcoin and they dump it, but whatever. But for the most part, Bitcoin is a ceiling, and that's what I use to measure how much room growth everything else has.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I would agree.
If Bitcoin goes up, the rest of the market just generally just goes up.
Yeah.
By the
So
way, kind of odd. Their deck scores 99, but what did you say their token sniffer
so
was?
I was about to bring that up. It's as we have normally done on this channel, we look at the token sniffer for all our altcoins, right? So, we look at the deck score, 99, really good. But if we go to the token sniffer, they got a 40 out of 100.
Oh, rug pull, guys. Never mind. Everything
Rug
we said
pull,
today,
yeah, exactly.
get out.
Disregard, run away as fast as you can. No, no, no. The reason it would be a 40 out of 100 for this one in particular is at least 95% of liquidity is burn and locked. Okay, no, it's 0.1%. The ownership, which, as we've said before, for exchanges, anything that's trying to manipulate with other exchanges, the contract is not renounced by owner. So
Yeah.
they can change the contract at their leisure and as they need to. So if they need to integrate it with another exchange, the exchange is probably going to want, I want 2% of every transaction. They're going to have to go in the contract and actually code that in there to appease the exchange and to get listed.
Yeah, and just to state that contract, or the renouncement of contract ownership, like of developers not doing that, is pretty common these days. It's like, so that's not something that should automatically send you to run away, but I think this is a good indicator of why, because it gets a 40 out of 100, but crypto.com isn't a rug pull, isn't like, it's not a big connect. I mean, imagine if it was. But like, but like token sniffer was right this whole time. But yeah, that's the point. Like, there's certain risks that you just have to take, and if you take them, they could pay off. So this is a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
So I think that's it for this video. We've hit our time. But that's pretty much it. If you like crypto.com, let us know down in the comments below. And if you have any shit coin you want us to review, please also leave it down in the comments below. That's it for today's video. We'll see everyone tomorrow.
All right.
Take it easy.